Governor Malloy said there would be an education agenda to the session and has laid out a package with lots of ideas on how to reform education in the state. Here now to talk about the proposals and how they might play out is State Education Commissioner Stefan Pryor. Also, Christine and Keith stuck around. Thanks for being here, guys. I guess, Commissioner, if you could talk about what your impression is and what you were thinking as the governor was laying out his plan.
I think it's really encouraging that this governor is willing to put it on the line and say that it's an enormous priority for our state that we improve our education system. And what was, I think, accurate and compelling was that the governor explained the connection between educational improvement and the economic revival that our state needs to accomplish. The point that the governor was making is that he's done a tour across the state in the course of his tenure thus far, and he walks onto factory floors and he walks into executive offices, and he's told that employers can't find employees from Connecticut to fill open slots in this economy where we all know that that's such a critical need. So we need to improve our educational system to better prepare our own residents for those jobs, and we're prepared to do it. We're prepared to get the system in shape.
Right. So how do you get these resources into the classroom? I mean, it's going to be your job as commissioner to be able to make sure that these schools are giving the resources they need to the teachers to be able to teach and have the support they need to educate students. How do you go about that?
I think there are several critical ingredients to ensuring that a school is effective. One of them is ensuring that the teacher, her or himself, is a quality teacher. And we have some outstanding teachers throughout this state, but one of the things that we haven't engaged in properly is a real recruitment campaign to get more talented people into the profession and to invest in those kinds of supports that teachers need to succeed in the classroom. So one of the things that we propose is to establish really a recruitment campaign. Another thing that we intend to do is to shift away from the old-fashioned method of these counting units, seat time counts for teachers as to how they receive their training. They're called continuing education units in the old terminology, and instead focus on coaching teachers in their classrooms so that they can perform.
What are some ways that you might try to recruit teachers? Because, I mean, you know, I've lived in many other states in the country, and it seems like Connecticut among them is one of the more desirable places that you would choose to become a teacher.
Right.
What will you add to the incentives?
We're doing a series of things. There's going to be a new tuition reimbursement program that that incentivizes the top graduates of teacher preparation programs and actually gives them the incentives to work in the lowest performing schools of our state. We think that will help get people who have a sense of mission into the profession and help channel the most talented folks who are entering teaching to the places where they're most needed. There are other aspects to it. There's marketing itself. We intend to really gear up and market the notion that this is a critical profession in our state. We also think it's very important that we create a sense that there is a pipeline, there is a ladder that you can progress through, whether you're in the classroom or whether you're seeking to be a school leader, an assistant principal, a principal. So we'll create a leadership academy for the latter purpose that will help teachers actually get the credentials they need and the experience they need to be a principal or even to be a superintendent, which we need to do more of in this state.
Commissioner, you know, in an election year, it's always challenging to get something difficult done, and when you've got a powerful unions like the Connecticut Education Association, the American Federation of Teachers, it'd be great to have them on board. How confident are you that by the end of the session you'll have a package that involves tenure reform, ECS, anything that's part of a bigger strategy, and you'll also be able to go to legislators and say, we've got union backing as well. How confident you can do that in a little under 90 days?
Well, we've conducted some substantial outreach leading up to the legislative session. Over the past several months, we've held meetings with many stakeholders across the system, teachers unions being chief among them, very important conversations, but we've also met with superintendents associations, advocacy groups with various interests, parent organizations, all of whom will have a voice in the session. As to teachers unions per se, we've met with each of the unions, AFT and CEA, over a dozen times. Around the elements of the package, which is not to say that there's agreements on all of the elements, of course not, but we are in heavy dialogue around them. It's been enormously constructive. I have to say that in both instances, the AFT and the CEA, there's enormous passion for the profession. There's great intellectual energy being put into crafting the right policies for teachers and for students in our state. It's been a terrific dialogue, and our package has benefited from that dialogue. I think it will continue all the way through the session until we're done.
I mean, I would expect that one of the issues that AFT and CEA will be most vocal about is the teacher tenure reform that the governor is proposing. I mean, but you're confident that you've come far enough that you might be able to get some resolution?
Well, I think what we can say with confidence is that we've arrived at a solution that we think is the right one for our state. There are 31 states that since 2009 have reformed tenure, including our bordering states, to greater and lesser degrees. The fact of the matter is that Connecticut hasn't substantially changed not only the tenure system, but other aspects of our system, the certification system, our evaluation system for teachers, and the way we support teachers and principals, for that matter, through the profession. We need to engage in these interlocking reforms to really modernize the way schools are run and the way teachers view their own profession. We hear repeatedly from teachers in classrooms that they don't feel sufficiently respected, the profession isn't treated with the level of distinction that it deserves. Reforming tenure will provide for some of those elements. We also think it's very important to note that tenure ought to be earned. And it ought to be sustained through demonstrated performance. There shouldn't be a profession in which one can simply earn such a status and it continues in perpetuity. There is a need, we think, to ensure that performance, especially as centered around student learning, which is really the objective of the entire system, is emphasized.
Did the governor characterize tenure correctly in his speech, saying that, 4 years and you have a job for life?
Well, the governor actually never said that. The governor didn't use the term job for life, and there's a bit of a straw man that's been established in criticizing that. The governor very accurately stated that in the vast majority of cases in our state, if you are in your job for 4 years and you continue your employment into the fifth year, you are granted tenure. That is how the system works. That is precisely how the system works. Is it the case that districts under the current system, under certain circumstances, do have the opportunity to remove teachers? Yes, but I don't think that's the point. That happens in the very, very small minority of cases. The reason is that the system is overly bureaucratic and that the tenure system hasn't been reformed, and it's really not linked to performance. The granting of tenure has no relationship to performance on an ongoing basis. We need to fix that. We need to modernize our system. I think teachers really understand this. What I hear very frequently from teachers who are in classrooms and schools is that those who hold themselves to high standards, and that's most teachers, wish that the teachers who are right next door in other classrooms do the same.
We'll have to have you back because we're out of time, but we didn't even get to talk about charter schools, which I know that you know a lot about. So we'll have to have you back during the session. Keith, Christine, thanks for being here. Don't forget, if you missed something here on The Real Story, you can now watch it online by going to ctnow.com. You can also catch us on YouTube. Thanks so much for watching this week's edition of The Real Story. We'll see you here again next week.